Hi, I'm Bill Flemer, longtime employee of D&R Greenway and recovering nurseryman. And we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects today, which is the maintenance of tools, specifically shovels, spades, pruners, knives, sharpening, and keeping them in good shape. So the first distinction I want to make is between a shovel and a spade. These are shovels, round point, square point, and these are spades. The difference is that a shovel is basically with a curved blade like a spoon. It's designed for moving dirt. And a spade has a relatively flat blade, square on the edge, much heavier steel, and ideally kept very sharp. It's not as good for moving dirt, but it's very good for digging around trees, for balding and burlapping. Anytime you need to cut something or you need to go into hard ground, the spade is the tool you want. One of the main things that I really get worked up about is keeping tools clean. And it's very easy to do if you do it when you're right after you use the tool. There's fresh, moist dirt on the blade. All you do is have to rub it off and leave the thing clean and you're all set. If you don't do that, then you have something like this, which is a round point shovel with dirt still on it from who knows how long. It's dried, it's hard, and underneath it, it's rust. This one is old and rusty, but it doesn't have any dirt on it. The spade is the tool of the nursery industry, and they have several different styles over the years. This is a traditional one from the A.M. Leonard Company of Pequot, Ohio. It's all steel with a wooden frame to it, very heavy. That has been replaced in the trade by this all metal spade coming from the WWW Manufacturing of Bridgeton, New Jersey, and it's called the King of Spades. And it's all welded steel, just about impossible to break. And then in the nursery business, the guys who get paid to dig large ball and burlap trees, they tend to use something called a pony spade, which is a lighter version. Still a spade, because it's square and relatively flat, but much lighter than that. So if you do it all day long, this is the one you want. I'm going to show you how to clean it when it's been left in this sorry condition. It's caked mud all over it. First, simplest thing is just to get it wet, like this. And then once the water softens up the mud, then you can take anything like an old bunch of grass or something and just knock the dirt off, like that. No special technique or tools required. But that's what needs to be done when you have a dirty digging tool like a spade or a shovel. There we go, much better. So we're now going to look at how to sharpen tools like spades and shovels. When they come from the store, they're flat on the edge and there's no sharpness at all, which is not what you want. You want a nice sharp edge. So the way I go about it is I usually in a workshop, but I put a set of vise up out here today for demonstration. You put the tool in a vise like that. Oops, here we go. And then you're going to use a angle grinder with a grinding wheel on it to take away a lot of steel in a hurry, and then you'll put a finer point on it with the spade. So let's do that. Good idea to wear gloves when you do this stuff. So that does the job a lot more quickly than a file, but a file is the next step. This is what's called a mill bastard file. Mill is the shape, and the bastard thing is because it's only sliced one way. And this is also a point where gloves are really important, because if you get working near this blade and you slip, you know, you're going to make it very sharp, and you can get some nasty cuts from that. So then you just start filing the same way you were grinding, taking it down to a finer edge, like that. As you must know, with the file, you only want to go one way, not both ways, because that is bad for the grooves. Just push the file rather than pulling it, like that. And that now is good and sharp and ready to go to work. If you don't have a grinder, you can do this with just a file. And for a shovel, which is much thinner than the spade, it's easy enough. Again, a sharp edge makes all the work that much easier. Digging with a sharp tool is a pleasure. And once you've done it, then you don't want to have dull ones anymore. So, little known fact, a sharp hoe is what you want as well, not just the way it comes out of the store. And the technique is the same. You're going to put an angle on the front side, leave the back side flat, and it makes all the difference if you're chopping out weeds if you have a sharp hoe. Not hard to keep it that way. There's another kind of hoe called a grape hoe, which is much heavier, more like a spade than a traditional hoe. You can actually take out substantial invasive trees and shrubs, of some size by just chopping the roots with one of these. So the same technique with the file, typically not the grinder, applies to an axe. And this is an area where you really want to be careful and make sure you have gloves on, because you're filing right toward the sharp blade. My rule of thumb with blades is if you hold the blade up and look at the edge, if you see any light reflected, then that's a dull place. Because when it's really sharp, there's no surface to reflect light. It just comes to a point. With this axe, I can see a few little glitches here and there. So I'm going to just gently file it like this. Very little angle to the blade. In this case, you're sharpening both sides equally, like that. It doesn't take much. Now you can fine tune that with a stone also, once you've got it close with the file. It's not too bad. Anyway, there you have it. The gold standard in pruning shears, nursery pruners, is a Swiss-made pruner called a Felco, F-E-L-C-O. They retail for somewhere north of $50, but they're worth it because they're so much better than the rest of what's on the market. When they sell you a Felco, you give this mysterious little tool, comes with it, and that is the key to maintaining it. It's all you need. There are various size screws on the thing, and this little guy is a wrench that will take it all apart for you. So the Felco with this little tool, it has two different size screws, and the larger one fits this larger hole, and usually you have to tap it with something to loosen the screw. There. The wrench that they give you, this little guy here, is precisely sized to take that particular screw off. So in order to sharpen Felcos, you take them apart. The spring comes off like that. And so now this curve in the little tool is designed to catch this little gear-like wheel here and to turn that. So once you loosen that, you can take that off, and you get that, and you get this little piece here, and then the bolt that holds it all together comes out like that, and you have your Felco in two pieces. And to sharpen the blade, you simply pull it off of the little pins that hold it, and you can either, you can sharpen that on a water stone like you would a knife, or if it's in bad shape, you can put it in the vise and use the file on it. You would set it up about like that, and then again, put gloves on so you don't hit that blade with a bare hand, and then just gently file it like this. That gets you into the neighborhood where you would then fine tune it with a water stone. So that's the deal. And then to put them back together, you just have to reverse the process. Let's see, that goes like that. Tighten it up, and there you are. Your Felcos are adjusted. The method that I like for knife sharpening uses Japanese water stones. I have some here that I've had for quite a while. And this is an American stone, a coarser stone for, coarser work. But basically, if your knife is very dull or very new, you would start with this, and then, which is, I don't know what the grit is, but this is 1,000 grit, and that's a 4,000 grit. And they're water stones, they're not oil stones. So when you use them, you saturate them with water. I have a little tank here. And that keeps the metal filings that you're grinding off in suspension, so they don't jam up the pores in the stone. Now you can get them from this place, Woodcraft, and they're not cheap, but they'll last you forever. I've made this little gizmo here to go on the kitchen counter next to the sink and to hold the stones while I'm working. So we'll start with this medium stone. That's what I use mostly. You can see it's pretty worn out. Fits in there, it's nice and wet. And then you take whatever knife you're sharpening. Now, nursery knives are interesting because they're beveled on one side and flat on the other. And when you're grafting, that gives you control over the knife going into the wood for the fine motor skill of grafting. So all the sharpening is basically done on the bevel side, and then the flat side you just take off whatever burr you've created with the other side. So the way I do that is I just hold the thing, lay it flat, sort of get your motion going so you're comfortable with it, and then just tip it up a teeny amount like that, 1 or 2 degrees, and keep going. And then you're taking the back side and just gently taking off whatever burr might be on there. And you can get a good knife, you can get extremely sharp that way. And then the finishing step is with a piece of leather, an old belt, a leather strop it's called, and I like to get it wet. And then I just hold one end with my foot, and I take the knife and I go like that. You're going to strop the knife like that, and that knocks off any more little metal burrs that would be clinging to the edge, and gives you a nice clean edge. So that's how we do that. And as I said before, with the Felco blade, when you have the Felco pruner disassembled, you can take that blade and put a nice fine edge on it with the stone, the same way as you would a knife.